So yeah, this is a great pleasure for me. The session is titled The Year That Was Citrix in 2015. So it's designed to be a fun session, an interactive session, not just with the CTPs, but with people in the audience as well. So we're just pretty much going to cover what I believe are like some of the key points throughout the year, and then obviously we're going to get the input from the guys as well. So it should be a lot of fun, right? Okay, so I suppose a little bit more background on me. I've been with Citrix 11 years. My area is FMA. I'm transitioning into the CWC space over the next couple of months, so it's quite interesting and exciting. I'll still be working with FMA, but obviously get the focus on CWC stuff as well. So I suppose I want to, here we have our little agenda. So we're just going to briefly talk about the state of the nation in terms of Citrix, where we are, some of the turmoil that has gone on this year, and what the future holds, right? And then we're going to look at some of the key releases that have already come in 2015, what we can maybe expect towards the end of the year, and then I want to get some of the highlights from the guys as well. Esther, welcome. Very nice. Okay. So I suppose we have to start, there's only one place we can really start, right? After 21 years, 14 years at the helm, it's finally time to say goodbye to obviously Mark Templeton. We will talk a little bit more about Mark's legacy and what he's contributed to Citrix over the years in a few minutes, but I just think it was very important to actually acknowledge this. In my time in Citrix, my 11 years, obviously Mark has been the only CEO that I've known, and on a personal note for them, you know, he's been quite an inspirational character to me and a lot of people that I know inside of Citrix on many levels. And we can discuss, you know, what has led to, you know, the recent announcements and stuff like that. We'll go into that in a little bit more detail, but I just wanted to acknowledge Mark and come up there on the screen for everybody to see. So as of July 28th, of course, the announcement was made and the succession plans with Citrix. So that leads me on to meet Bob Calderoni.
Hi, Bob.
Everybody say hi, Bob? Okay, that's good. What an introduction. So Bob pretty much is our new interim CEO.
Does he like the Moody Blues?
Huh?
Does he like the Moody Blues?
Well, that's a good question. I think he's more of a Metallica fan.
Repeat the question.
Does he like the Moody Blues? But we'll have to wait and find out. I don't know if Bob will be around long enough for us to find out. I don't mean that to be funny, but Bob is interim CEO, right? So he's going to be at the helm for a little while until Citrix finds its long-term successor, I believe. That's the plan anyway. But Bob has been with us since 2014. Obviously appointed executive chairman as of July 2015, and he also sits on the boards of Juniper Networks and KLR 10 Core. So interesting times ahead, definitely in Citrix. So I'm glad everybody got a chance to meet Bob today. That's important. So I do want to talk about Mark's leadership really quickly and the legacy that he's left behind, because I think it has been pretty profound. You know, Citrix has gone from one product, you know, single customer segments, one to go-to-market path, to a global powerhouse, if I don't say so myself, with revenues of over $3 billion and 100 million users worldwide. You know, so I think it's been pretty dramatic, the rise of Citrix in the software world. You know, we talk 50 to 9,000 employees. We used to have 10,000. 15 million to over 3 billion in revenue, and 150 million to like 12 billion in market cap. So it's been, you know, it's been massive growth under Mark's leadership. So, you know, if we look at forms and how Citrix is recognized as a company, you know, we talk about innovation. We go back to 2012, 2013. You know, Citrix was widely recognized on the list for innovation, largest public companies. We go back to 2014, of course, we're in the Forbes 2000. So Citrix is a big household name and a very widely recognized company, of course. We're still there in 2015 as America's best employees. So, you know, I don't know if it's telling.
Does that mean Citrix is getting less innovative?
Well, that's, maybe that's part of the narrative here, that is something that we have to discuss, you know, and we want your opinion, you know.
Are you bringing the red dots back on the logo?
Alright, that's a fail. You'd never know if that was a last minute image edition up in the hotel room beavering away. Alright, you've got me, okay? Well, that's a good question there, right? In terms of innovation. So
bring the red dots back.
We need to talk about that, right? Clearly in 2012, 2013, we were recognized as a very innovative company. And I didn't put this up here to show the problems that Citrix is facing now. I just wanted to show, where we've been and how we've grown as a company, essentially. Everybody here is interested in seeing where we take the next step and to see more innovation coming back in Citrix. So, we all want that. So it leads me on to a very interesting topic, right? The ancient Chinese proverb, wolves don't lose sleep over opinion of sheep. So I think it's quite fitting, and just pretty much, whether we think things are going well, I'm probably consider myself a sheep in terms of Citrix. We're beavering away on a day-to-day basis, thinking everything is going well. And of course, Editor Elliott Management. Okay, so I'm sure everybody knows about Elliott Management and is aware of what's going on this year in Citrix. But are they the big bad wolf or are they the fairy godmother? That's an interesting question, right? So we can talk about them really quickly. Obviously they're an activist hedge fund holding 7.5% of Citrix shares, close to $1 billion. Obviously they're the largest single shareholder. We all know that they wrote an open letter to Citrix back in June, wanting Citrix to build, and to drive more value for their shareholders, okay? So obviously they want to bump the price to over $100 by the end of 2016. That's their plan. Achievable because Citrix has some crown jewels in the portfolio, okay? So pretty much that's where we are. They want fundamental change and effective oversight, and obviously they have a previous track record as well with Novell and some of these big companies, EMC. But obviously EMC don't have to worry so much at the moment, obviously, because the Dell came and saved them, right?
Safe.
Maybe.
Save them from fairy godmother, right?
Yeah, that's it. So, what did they suggest? They wanted to cut millions of dollars and explore other ways of partnering with some of the businesses. So the restructures have happened. They've tried to save these millions of dollars. Well, they have. But the restructure and in terms of partnering with some of the businesses, it's up in the air, right? So we don't really know what's happening here. They're talking about restructuring underperforming brands, CloudBridge, Cloud Platform Byte Mobile, and spinning off maybe high-value workplace services, the GoToMeeting and the Netscaler businesses.
So that might be the stupidest thing ever, right?
Yeah.
Well, there you go, yeah.
Do you mean go to meeting or Netscaler?
Oh,
So we're going to come back to that now in a minute, right? So, no, let's stick it.
But that's actually a big problem, because then you are one product company. Actually. If you sell Netscaler, then you are one product company. Now you are two product company. Actually, everything else is nice and nice, but it's not product. It's like, okay, also time.
Yeah.
But Zenap and Netscaler. That means I think it's Citrix without Netscaler is like 60% less volume.
Okay.
Look, they've still got the secure gateway code sitting on a shelf somewhere, right?
Oh, Jesus Christ, just let it die.
Sorry.
Keep passing those mics around. Have we got another mic actually here?
Extra spice here.
So let's keep. So Rempo, what do you think?
So the question is, what's the logic behind this? So, GoToMeeting, maybe it doesn't really fit in.
Making money. That's all.
Yeah, but besides making money, you need to put some other logic around it to sell and hide the fact that you're making money, right? So for Netscaler, who's seen Netscaler without the Citrix stack somewhere?
Many places.
Yeah. But it could be a lot more potentially. The potential of the product is awesome, but if you go to networking guys, they want F5 or something else.
So let's turn the question around. Who's seeing Zenap without Netscaler?
I'd add a caveat that only because they're too bloody cheap to buy it.
So what are they using?
Microsoft load balancing, or some customers are crazy to run F5.
Microsoft load balancing.
It's normally a fun.
But I mean, you're talking about the price range of the customer that Art is going about.
But a Netscaler gateway is like 800 euros.
I know, but then throw on the licenses and throw on everything else.
So I think the reality is the chances of us probably partnering with Netscaler, spinning that off is probably pretty low. I think more realistically is the online products, the go-to stuff, which I think is being discussed at the moment.
So the go-to stuff being got rid of, that you can take that as a given almost, right?
Pretty much.
My question really is not about Netscaler. My question is ShareFile.
Yeah, ShareFile is part of the go-to product.
ShareFile kind of sits right in the middle of those.
Yeah, so that's really interesting.
I don't think ShareFile's going to go anywhere, just given that Workspace Cloud is built off the ShareFile architecture, you know, so... I mean,
Yeah, it's not built on ShareFile architecture, it's built to be like ShareFile architecture, right?
So initially it was part of the discussion, right? But I believe at the moment, you know, there's been a restructure in the management side of things in ShareFile internally in Citrix, and I believe that's off the table now, I believe.
I mean, in either direction, I mean, the go-to suite, it was a clever acquisition from Citrix at the time. How much have they done with it? Very little. You know, cutting it off, in my opinion, kind of makes a lot of sense. And if you were to go back a slide for a second.
Yeah.
No, keep going. Keep going.
There we go.
Keep going.
Going.
I'd argue that this quote, that quote is what got you guys in trouble in the first place, in my opinion. I think you guys, Citrix got a little complacent back then. And as they went forward with Elliot chasing them in that regard. I mean, even on your slides, you mentioned the innovation of Citrix over the years. Citrix made some very clever acquisitions, like Zen Server, like GoTo, but did they actually follow through with those acquisitions? Not so much. So I think there has been a lack of innovation in that regard. So maybe spinning off a couple of side companies would be good. I'd hate to see Netscaler and ShareFile go personally, because I think they're really good GoTo. I've kind of made peace with that because I didn't do anything with it. But yeah, that's just my take.
Yeah, but Elliot's argument that every minute you spend looking at GoTo or investing in that, it's a minute or an hour less that you spend looking at some of the core products and stuff like that.
That's, if I may say so, it's I think the biggest mistake by Citrix was...
There you go, Yanni, take the mic there.
Yeah, hey, no beers this time.
Sit down!
See VMware and Microsoft buying additional companies and products is not necessarily a mistake. The mistake starts when you ditch your core product. Imagine VMware would start pissing on ESXi. This is what Citrix did with XenApp for a few years, and that's where they started to go down. So they should have keep investing in XenApp while bringing in Netscaler, Zen Mobile. That's okay, right? As long as you keep nurturing your core solution, which was great. It's because they kind of ditched that, they enabled VMware to get in real big. And now they're trying to correct this error by ditching the other products and refocusing on XenApp, which was a mistake in the first place. That's my
They underestimated the move away from XenApp and the focus you had, and the customer backlash.
Yeah, but I do like the fact that Mark just went on stage and admitted his mistake, or the mistake that Citrix made.
Yeah, well, we talked about the big red heart now in a few minutes as well.
Okay,
we
perfect.
can't forget about that. So, you know, whether it's the big bad wolf or the fairy godmother, everybody has their opinion.
Mick, by the way, no one's talking about Cloud Platform here.
Oh, we're going to talk about that in a second, don't worry.
No,
we're going to go back to Mark's last hurrah and the vision for the future, but we got to push through really quickly. Huh?
This is the least interested part of Citrix. That should be...
Yeah, we're going to talk about it in a second, don't worry. So the outcome of Elliott Management, of course, we're talking about, you know, share price went up to over $80, so straight away we had an impact. This Jesse Cohn guy got a seat on the board. We looked for a new independent member. Okay, so, and obviously Citrix was going to examine its business, and then obviously Mark's inevitable retirement, okay, so that's pretty important. And all of this in the face of Citrix still making profits. But the reality is, you know, once the wolves start sniffing blood, they don't stop. So some well-known folks had their say. I don't know if I'm allowed to put these guys up on the screen, right? Twitter went crazy. Even the Godfather had his say. I don't know if Alex is in the room. He's definitely looking a little bit pasty here, but it's definitely fitting, I think, in terms of, that's a little bit of Photoshop magic. Don't worry, we'll send it out on Twitter a little bit later, right? He definitely looks good. Godfather 4, right? Okay. So the summary of the timeline, we'll push on through. Okay, so definitely it's been an interesting year in that. Upheaval on the executive level, what does the future hold? So let's talk about this for a second. You know, what does the future hold? We've all seen the rumors in terms of Dell bought EMC. You know, is this a final attempt, you know, Citrix talking to Dell and these companies, a final attempt to sell everything as a single package? Brian Madden thinks Microsoft would be a good fit, other people disagree, you know. Could Citrix go private? Is that the reason for the discussions with Dell? So what do you guys think? Does anybody have a strong opinion on this that I'd like to share with the audience? Who's the best fit, Andrew? If Citrix do sell?
Cisco. Microsoft doesn't make any sense. They're competing with Citrix and Microsoft are competing on all fronts, but being friendly about it at the moment. I think Cisco, after Whiptail kind of crashed and burned epically, they've got this VCE crap going on, and while it's all hugs and handshakes, it's not going to last very long. I could see a good kind of marriage, and that's if Citrix has to be bought by somebody.
Exactly.
Cisco would make the most sense. I mean, look, nobody wants to go to HP and die. I mean, but that's what happens. But let's be honest. I mean, Citrix obviously put on their best looking dress and went, flirting with Dell, but Dell chose VMware. So, and EMC by and large. So Cisco for me is the only fit, as I see it.
Anybody else have a difference of opinion? And again, this is all just conjecture, of course, and.
You need to go back a slide.
Yeah.
Alex,
Yeah.
you're famous.
I wish.
But that's how we see you.
Really? I'm so fucking ugly, boy.
You don't really
I
want
know
to
this is
answer, right?
improvement, to be honest with you. But definitely, regaining the hairline. You want to take that picture? Don't worry, it's going to go.
You have no hair, right?
It's going to go viral in about half an hour. So we're talking obviously about the future, and again, it's all conjecture. I have my own personal feelings that, well, I'm here representing Citrix. Obviously, I'm passionate about Citrix. I'm passionate about the company. I'm with the company 11 years, but I'm interested in the narrative and obviously the opinion of everybody here, because everybody here's opinion matters.
Apart from mine.
There's an empty, yeah. Come on, there's more chairs up here.
Richard?
So you mentioned
It was a
EMC.
mistake to let him
So you
speak.
mentioned EMC and Elliott, right? So Elliott was behind the sale of EMC to Dell because they made $600 million out of that, right?
Yes.
And they, in their both letters, they did exactly the same letter to EMC as they did to Citrix. Yeah, creating shareholder value. They don't give a shit about any of this. All right, as long as they walk away in 6 months' time with exactly the same amount of money in their pocket, through screwing over another company because they managed to buy a controlling share in it, that's it. Yeah. Whether we talk about whether ShareFile or NetScaler is sensible or a good fit for sale is again immaterial. At some point, they're going to go around and they're going to shop off the bits of Citrix or Citrix as a whole. It'd be great if Citrix went to Cisco, I agree. With the NetScaler piece, with everything else, with the, as you say, with whiptail tagging, Cisco would be really good.
Okay, so,
Yeah, but
Ingmar,
it's,
have you got
it's,
something?
it's
Ingmar?
selling a solution, because I think the real problem is in the innovative part. That we lost our drive to innovate and to get the new technology out to our customers and the market.
I think CWC will, is turning the
I
tide.
was just going to say, I'll defend that. I mean, look at the side services that have been spun out of CWC already. I mean, look, you've got. I'm not sure if you have actually got the ShareFile in there yet, but it's coming. You've got the mobility, you've got desktops and apps, you've got the automation piece. But I mean, the browser server, app DNA as a service, all of these other kinds of
And the labs, and we've all this interesting stuff going on with the labs, the app DNA stuff.
Yeah, I personally, I think you guys have turned the corner, and I just want to see what's going to come next. But the right people are at the helm.
Yeah, I think everybody's excited about CWC, definitely. But it's what we move forward with is the question here, I suppose. So a lot of people feeling Cisco. Ingmar?
Just last name. So Cisco, sure. I think for Cisco will be good. For Citrix, I don't know. In innovation, I fully disagree. I think there's a lot of innovation happening at Citrix, and that's not just because I work for Citrix. I'm on vacation today. I personally really think there's a lot of innovation at Citrix.
Yeah, but that's
publicly,
last month,
Ingmar, no,
the
I
big
mean,
movement back.
Publicly as well, with Workers Cloud and a lot of other things. But all these rumors, really, should we talk about this? I mean, in the end, if Citrix would have, if someone buys Citrix, if Citrix goes private or not, is it really relevant for us as community to talk about who's the owner of Citrix? I mean, in the end, and I am an employee of Citrix, I don't give a shit. The reason I chose Citrix is because I love the vision, I love the company, I love the and shouldn't we all?
Well,
But in the end, it will change
level.
the sentiments that your customers have about Citrix.
That's a different discussion.
Yeah, no, I take your point, Ingmar, and absolutely, but in terms of the story of 2015, I think it is interesting. I think everybody here cares about Citrix. I think everybody is interested about Citrix. We care about the innovation. I'm very proud of working for Citrix as well, and I do agree there is a lot of innovation. But we're talking about the whole story here, so I think it's definitely worth discussing.
The big problem here is that even here today, we're talking 20 minutes about something boring. We're talking about money, we're talking about selling or not selling. We're at a fucking technical conference.
Yeah.
But this is Citrix' problem. Nobody is
Are
talking
you saying
about...
I'm part of the problem?
The problem is nobody is talking about whatever it is that Citrix is innovating.
Yeah, well maybe, okay.
And whilst this is going on, VMware is publishing this and publishing that, and they're doing this great. It's getting better, but it's still not as good as Citrix. But they get the shine, they get the publicity, and all you hear about Citrix is this. Next slide, let's talk tech now.
Yeah, well, we move past that. So one hand out hurrah. So let's go back to synergy then. You know, the messaging was clear. Workspaces, workspaces, workspaces. This was Mark's, you know, this was his idea for the future of Citrix. And I think CWC is definitely very exciting. So it's all about, you know, entering the cloud age with CWC, having our managed infrastructure hosted and managed by Citrix, and allowing customers to plug into this through the cloud connectors, you know, and having your resources wherever you want them, whether you want them on premise, whether you want them in the private cloud, public cloud, wherever you want, you have the choices. Citrix manages the back end, keeps adding innovative products, solutions, services, and people subscribe, and you have a subscription-based licensing model. So I think, obviously, everybody is excited about this, right? About CWC. And I'll be doing a session with Gerzon. Is Gerzon here? There's my partner in crime right there. Gerzon Close, myself. We'll be talking about CWC. So there is a technical session, right? So again, Remco, I do take your point, right? Definitely, and it is a symptom of the issue here. But for me, I still think this is fun, right? Because we get to talk about everything. And then after this session, we can go technical for the rest of the whole conference.
I do like the fact that Citrix said, oh look, now we have to deploy our own shit. It turns out it's really expensive to do SQL.
Well, it would be nicer if we had our own cloud, you know? And then these subscription costs would probably be cheaper. And I know there's a lot of discussion over licensing costs at the moment with CWC, right? And some concern and
Are you actually suggesting a Citrix own cloud on Zen server?
no. I think Citrix had, maybe we had opportunities in the past.
But that's actually what's happening. The VMware has his own cloud.
But it's
And you don't. But you know, and you see always that, I was wondering actually like 10 years. I see that Citrix always says, actually you have only one concurrent, it's VMware. What? Actually, I think you have more concurrence from where the market is changing, or even in the enterprise market. It's not, your problem is not VMware. It was there. You know, your core product has nothing with core product on VMware. Nothing. Okay, you buy some company which do the same core product as VMware do, but you never competed, even not even against VMware. You never competed against Microsoft. Never ever. You know, they have Hyper-V, and Hyper-V compete with Sensor never competed with Hyper-V or with never competed.
So there is a lot of innovation happening with Zen Server as well at the moment, and we are expecting some.
The biggest cloud in the world works on Zen, but not on Sensor. That's actually what Citrix should think about. Yeah. That means your product is good. What to do with this is actually not good. And you can have innovation with Zen. Amazon do a lot of innovation on Zen. Why Citrix cannot do it? And that's actually the question that Citrix should ask. You know that you're an innovative company, I will say for my company as well, and nobody knows my company, a lot of innovative people. But that's not
Ingmar is going to...
Innovation is what
There goes the vacation, Ingmar.
innovation is what you do out of it.
So you have to repeat the question for the guys in the back because they've not heard Sasha.
What was the question?
Okay.
Don't give up the microphone.
Single sentence.
One question.
Okay, it was not a question. Okay, I tried to...
Sasha says.
Sasha, just say the question.
Okay.
The question.
The question was why Citrix was about Citrix own cloud. VMware has own cloud. And Citrix tried to compete or say that VMware is actually the how to say, the company to compete, but Citrix never compete with VMware? Actually never. Because co-product of Citrix is not co-product, not against co-product of VMware.
That's it.
So I think,
And question is, why you do so less innovation out of product, which actually is going to be like Xen is actually one of the best innovating product on the market, and Citrix did nothing out of it.
So Citrix doesn't say we're competing with company X. Citrix is competing for the user, where VMware is competing for the data center. So in cloud, I mean, whoever cares about their own data center? Sorry guys, in 5 to 10, 20 years, we all don't care about our own data center. Companies are moving their infrastructures, their data, all their services to different cloud services.
Yeah.
And starting with Office 365, it's the best thing Microsoft has done. Everyone is moving their exchange to Microsoft. They can do it the best. Citrix is always focusing, it's me.
If you have a big opinion, up to the front, please.
So, Citrix is focusing on the user, not on the data center. That's the big difference. So,
Okay, Ingmar.
Yeah, I mean, just to echo, this is just a marketing exercise, VMware versus Citrix, and it's complete box.
Yeah, okay. Don't forget the innovation in terms of graphics that Sensor are doing as well, so next year, you know.
Everyone wants to give me a microphone, that's a problem, isn't it?
Okay, take the stage.
I think that's wrong. I think my colleagues at the back would agree, yes? For your own data center, everyone's using their own data center. This workspace cloud stuff, how many people are using that today?
Come on, it's only 3 months, man.
It's very tricky. What we're finding at the back is lots of people are using Azure. And deployment services. At the back, how many people at the back are using Azure?
How many people at the front are using Azure?
Who's using Azure or looking to use Azure? Shit, come on.
That says not even the MVPs put their hand up.
how many customers are looking or are using Office 365?
All right, yes, hands up, Office 365. Yes.
how many like it?
Which is running on yes.
How many have got OST problems?
So they don't care about Citrix Workspace Cloud.
Exactly, which is good.
No, it's not. It's really bad.
No.
This is your innovation piece.
Who do you work for anymore?
This is the innovation. Yeah, this is the new stuff, and yet it's not engaging with the people who are going to buy products that are coming.
Well, the big push on CWC won't start till January.
So, but what does CWC?
No, it's there now, but you know, it's going to go into overdrive.
What's it solving for customers?
I think a lot of this is a small business play. I don't know that it's going to be a big business play.
Cloud is I don't care as a service. I really don't give a shit what runs on infrastructure.
Unfortunately, lots of people do give a shit as where that infrastructure is hosted. Where is this service? Because that is important to businesses.
In location, yes. But every company we've been talking to for the last 10 years, I'm not doing IT. I'm selling shoes. I'm building airplanes. That's what I do. I don't care how IT works. Yeah. How it is. It's to most customers.
Is it me or is this a pub conversation rather than a middle of the day conversation?
No, it should be
Old school! So I think we can move on, because we have some more stuff to get through before we finish up.
But Mick, what does CWC solve for customers? Why should I as a customer die?
Well, it takes the misery away from managing your infrastructure.
Yeah, but it's twice as expensive.
Well, can you help me out with the pricing and see?
No, I'm sorry, the minute you talk about price, you're not talking about value. I mean,
Yes.
when the value comes, the price will match.
Bye.
I think Jim was spot on. Now that Citrix is actually eating their own dog food, they'll see where it is shit and hopefully do something about it.
Precisely.
Okay. Interesting.
There is one CWC. I'm working for the last 6 months on AWS. Tons of workloads in Citrix and AWS, and majority of my customers simply don't want to go CWC. Basically, we're building our own logics on.
They're using different cloud services. This will probably come too late for a lot of people. I think.
No, absolutely, and basically they don't see the value, right? They don't see the value. I mean, the control plane stuff is fine, it's fun, but basically this is like 5% of the project. Everything else which is relevant to the customers has nothing to do with CWC, right? So majority of them will build their own solutions adapt them to their needs, etc., etc. So I mean, I think it kicks in a bit late, and we go back to the value on their own on-prem data centers. Well, you know, I mean, they do that for years as well. So
okay. So hands up, who's excited about CWC and the future?
So I mean, you're saying you've taken all this horrible pain away from us.
Well,
you've taken the easy bits.
The easy bit, managing multiple private hotfixes and you know, look at the value in CWC as well. You know, don't forget we're going to talk that we have some releases on the Zen app and Zen desktop side of things coming out at the end of the year. We have 7.7 coming out. A lot of those features that will be coming out in 7.7 are already available in CWC. You know, so I think there's a lot of positives to CWC.
I agree, and just to close out on that point around value, I mean, when Zen Desktop 7 came out, we all thought it was a bag of shit. And let's be honest, we did. You know, it came out and we all said, nobody's going to look at this as a new environment and implement and go forward. And here we are.
How wrong we were.
Fast forward 18 months, and new customers are coming in on 7.6 and looking at 6.5 and go, why would I go back there? But features, you know. Workspace Cloud, you're judging a product that's only out 4 or 5 months, you know. VMware still haven't actually delivered on Enso, you know. So Citrix are at the forefront. I completely agree, people are building in cloud at the moment, but it's going to be around the services and the value this sort of stuff adds, and the amount of new value and innovation Citrix can layer in there as quickly as possible.
The proof will be in the pudding, Andrew. I agree.
Exactly.
You know,
we're judging it too early.
Nobody here is aware, even I'm not aware of what is actually happening with Citrix Labs and, you know, internally in Citrix and the type of innovation they're looking at bringing into CWC. I think, you know, we just have to wait and see, but Citrix believes in CWC. You can mark my word, Citrix believes in CWC, and we believe that this is going to be a major breakthrough for Citrix. Whether people here believe it or not, we'll have to wait and see.
But isn't it, what I think is that it's very admirable that Citrix is not focusing directly on satisfying customer questions, but making our work as the IT department easier by addressing our problems, which is that there is a lack of knowledge on administrating large environments, which can become really easy if you switch to CWC.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, in my opinion, it's the first stage to getting this time the IT guys first on the platform, and then having them get the customers in as well.
I just think it's exciting. You know, the way CWC works internally, where we have 2 and 4 week sprint cycles. You log in one day, you've got whole new features and innovation inside of CWC. You go on holidays, you come back after 2 weeks, you've got a whole new plethora of features and innovation that might suit and might be exactly what you're looking for. You don't have to wait for 6 months or 8 months for a
Well, we saw that with our presentation at Synergy, that even all slides were changed.
Yeah, well, there's a benefit to having something that changes every 3 weeks. That just sounds as if it's great innovation.
No. We don't necessarily remove what's there.
But what's there yesterday and now it's not there, and that feature used to work yesterday and now it doesn't.
That's not the approach. The approach is to leave the majority of the working features there, but add extra innovation.
I just picked holes in the fact that sometimes code can break. You know. Not all code.
Approach and
some code is absolutely rock solid.
Okay. So we're getting stuck on CWC here. Let's put this to bed.
Actually,
we're all right over here.
You know, the approach and the realities do not match here. Actually, I was writing to Juan Rivera regarding the case. He's also saying they'll do updates in 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time, whatever. So still not convinced about how will they match with the client side. So that's an open question here. And
well, I think we just have to wait. I agree with Andrew. You know, it's established now.
This is a GA product, and we don't know anything about it. So how can we wait here and try to sell it?
Well, I can see. Yeah, let's take some of this offline. We want to push through because it is quite a polarizing topic right now. CWC, you know. So I think we move forward. Myself and Gerson will be talking about it. I think Gerson and I, we're going to go into a lot more detail in CWC on tomorrow afternoon. So hopefully we'll see some of you guys there. All the CTPs are barred. All you guys are barred from the session. Okay, look, I have to just comment on the big heart really quickly. you know, because I love that picture. You know, what else happened this year? We know that XenApp 6.5 has been extended, okay, to 2020. So I think that's good for people as well, okay? So, you know, we're trying to recover, you know, what we lost there. CUGC has been a big story this year. I don't know if Brian is in the audience. Brian? No, she's not here. I saw her yesterday.
I already checked before I started looking at that.
No, so CUGC has been a big story, I think. So hands up, who has been excited by what's been going on with CUGC? Yeah, very good. You know, it's connecting everybody. We, you know, 7,000 technology professionals at last now.
Actually, in Europe, the user groups were actually alive and kicking before CUGC started.
Yeah.
You know, we have the UK guys and the Dutch.
A shout out to the Irish user group only started. We had our first meeting about 2 weeks ago. Andrew and Alex put together the Dublin Irish user group. You have to take responsibility.
Can you give me your definition of new? Because the UK is running their user group for 4 years.
Somewhat, yeah.
We are 4. Is that what you mean with new stuff in Citrix?
No, the big news for us for the US.
We're just highlighting the UK user group, you know? They deserve a shout out.
I think the important thing for the user group is, who's heard of vMugs?
Yeah.
Hands up if you've heard of vMugs. More people than are in this group. What I thought is interesting with the vMugs from VMware is that drives a lot of the innovation that VMware has. Because they talk to it and the professionals all join together and drive innovation. Citrix was missing that, I think, engaging properly with people. All right, it was happening a bit in Europe, but there's no overriding body. I think this is a useful thing going forward.
Definitely. So we all agree on something. CUGC, that's awesome. Yeah, no, we don't have to. It's more fun when we disagree. But CUGC, definitely a win-win for Citrix. So there's been some key releases, of course. I'm an FMA guy. 7.6 Feature Pack 1 through Feature Pack 3. The XenApp Migration Services, Project Serenity. There's been a big change on that now. So that's been ported into CWC. I don't know if any of you guys saw that, right? So you're doing your migration through CWC now in terms of the XenApp migration. So that's a positive. And our long-term service release, which we can talk about really briefly. So some of the highlights, of course, for me, the Linux VDA. Linux VDA was a big thing, 1.1, where we added support for dedicated VDI, right? So this is something people were looking for. So that there's an innovation there straight away. Windows 10 VDA support and UPS on Windows 2008.
So where's ThinWire Plus? Your biggest improvement in FP3 is ThinWire Plus. Where is it?
Well, that's why you're here.
I mean,
So tell us all about it. Tell us all about it, Barry.
So I was hoping Rachel would be here, but Rachel's not there.
presentation tomorrow. I'm doing a Bram.
You see, I didn't want to ruin your presentation. That's why I left it alone. So maybe Rachel could have been here, but Ingmar, you want to?
Nope.
Okay. Anyway, we've only got 3 minutes left, so I want to push on really quickly. But yeah, there was lots of HGX improvements and stuff like that, but I just want to focus on some of the features.
One thing. Esther just said,
You said no.
There's a lack of innovation. Every quarter has been released a feature pack with innovation.
No, with updates.
You got to draw the line between. You got to draw the line between innovation and maintenance or porting old features too.
Windows 10, FrameHog,
Well, Linux VDA is
Linux
innovation.
VDI is not ported.
No, you dropped it.
Frame doesn't work.
You had XenApp for Unix, so don't start. It was a dropped feature port.
Re-innovation. It's important, nonetheless. Right, so it's been an interesting year, right? Let's push through really quick. So if you haven't seen it, the migration stuff is in CWC now, okay? So you can upgrade and it steps you through the whole migration stuff. So that's interesting, right? The Project Serenity beta website will be taken down.
No, they put it back in again.
No, it's there.
So this is how quick it changed, because they took it out and then he put it back in
When
again.
did they take it out from?
Well, after it went out of beta, they took it out and then it went back in again.
Yeah, it's there now, for sure. I think.
Silent re-innovation.
I think he's getting angry. I think we should just turn the mics off.
No.
It was part of the project name Cookie Cook.
So looking to the future, really quickly. So long-term service release, following suit with what Microsoft are doing with Windows 10. This is a big thing. Not necessarily innovation, but definitely, listening to what customers want. Okay, so based on 7.6.3 feature pack 3 in terms of the VDA versioning and stuff like that and some of the features, Citrix are going to be offering long-term service release support, 5 years mainstream support and 5 years extended support. So it's like two branches, like what Microsoft are doing, the current release and the long-term service branching. So this is a good thing. Okay, so it's going to include the components which are battle tested, no new codes, security bug fixes are addressed, no new features. But if you want to keep moving forward with Citrix and go to 7.7 at the end of the year, that's the current release, you have that choice as well.
So this is what you would call safe harbor release on Netscape?
Safe harbor turn.
But when you go to the download page, it's still there. Okay.
Well, it is what it is. So is this good for people? Do customers want this? Is this helpful?
So
for your customers?
it's absolutely necessary to restore Citrix's reputation in the large enterprise. Yeah, because all of the changes from 6.5 to 7, etc., have really screwed very large enterprise. And they do not have the time or the money because of the amount of change, the amount of work it is to do constant upgrade process. They absolutely need an LTS release. Yeah.
So against a workspace cloud.
Yeah. So but this is the opposite thing to innovation and quick innovation, right? But if you're going to do the quick innovation and stuff, that's fine. People do need the features. People want to see that stuff. But very large enterprise, they absolutely need the LTS stuff. They need the stability. They need the support. So I think this is an excellent thing.
The other thing as well
Awesome.
is if it's all going to go workspace cloud. I mean, I think you put it.
I think you put it most eloquently with, you're taking all the good bits and leaving us with all the shit. Big enterprises, thousands of users aren't want to be doing round updating VDAs every time there's a new bug fix in CWC. Big enterprise needs long-term service.
Yeah, it's long
overdue. We have customers who've demanded this for ages, and it did so with Linux VDA. It just feels like a little bit too late.
Well, I would just, better late than never, right? This is a new age, a new dawn, a new beginning for Citrix, and I think it's going to come together well.
Yeah, and you got to have a fun VMware, so I'm going to bully for you.
So this is the second thing that we all agree on. That's amazing. We're making progress. Okay,
So talk to your customers. Talk to your customers and don't crash your code. We all agree on that, right? Brilliant.
I'm getting killed up here. This is rough. So I won't be attending next year. I'm going to be making my excuses, Alex. No, I'm only joking. I'm well able for it. I have a thick neck. But so Project Acumen, probably the last thing we'll talk about really briefly. If you're not interested in this long-term service release and you want to look forward and work with new features and innovative new features, then we can look forward to Project Acumen. You're going to kill me on this one. This is IMA catching up. We're catching up here and porting a lot of stuff to FMA. But still, we are looking at 7.7 as the final piece of the jigsaw, really. Because obviously all eyes are fixated on 2020 when we have to get our customers away from IMA because of Microsoft's end of extended support for 2008-02. So it doesn't seem...
Is that 2021? It's Windows
7. 2020, isn't it?
2020
2008-02 is 2020.
2020 for Windows 7. And I always thought the server release was 12 months after the client release went out in the life.
I could be wrong now. I thought it was just...
I'm not sure, but I just know that 7 is 2020, so... Okay.
So in and around then, 2021, we are on the countdown. So we have to try and get all of our customers over to FMA. So it's interesting. Obviously, we know it's the next major release, 7.7, third generation FMA, if you like. We want to keep the innovation and advancement, port a lot of those legacy IMA stuff over to FMA. And just some big rocks, what really matters.
Bring that back! Bring that back!
We can't. We'll have to talk off.
Bring that back. Honestly, it was just here. Bring it back. It's like multi-zone management. Did it say that?
No time. No host patches back.
So is this one of Andy's innovation pieces or reintroducing.
We've created a new term, re-innovation. We have to write a blog on that. Yeah, but this is exciting. Stop living in the past. Look to the future.
Which is exactly the same as what the past looks
Be excited.
Mick, will you be reintroducing password manager next year?
I think you asked me that before. No comment. So, okay. You're going to be supporting me. You have had my back since day one. And Ingmar said that to Ingmar, right?
It's great that you
So, multi-zone management, rapidly getting to the specifics, application limits, multi-device same app, workspace control type of control, and loads of parameters and options to really harden that. Reboots, PowerShell, well. And multiple reboot warnings and schedules. So some interesting stuff. Some enhancements on the PBS side of things, support for FIPS, so we can sell to the government sector in the US. Disability, stuff, so obviously we can sell to those. We've got Windows 10 support for UEFI, okay, boosting. Director improvements, we've got SCOM integration, single sign-on on Director. Is coming with 7.7. So there are studio updates for creation of the database. Instead of just creating a main site database, you can create multiple different databases. You're logging, you're monitoring your site through the UI at the beginning, so you capture all the information, and MCS support on Microsoft Azure. So, we have a lot of exciting stuff, I think, coming in with 7.7 as well. And some of this stuff is already in CWC, like we said. The zone stuff, the zone management. You can go into CWC right now, and you can add resources and connectors, and you can, with Netscaler Gateway and various storefronts, you can direct people to different VDAs in different zones all around the world, even though your FMA database is in a single binary zone. So, that's what Tenant customers have wanted for a long time, right? So, we're not going to have any more comments. So, is that the end? Slán Shema and enjoy the rest of the event. Big round of applause for all the CCP.
I think we should have an even bigger round of applause for Mick for taking all this crap, actually.
Yes.
That was fun. That was fun. So, yeah. Me?
You're not afraid of these guys,
I'm more afraid than I was at the... But just to say, I obviously... I think, we all want Citrix to succeed here. I think, and we all love Citrix. We definitely want Citrix to succeed. I want Citrix to succeed. I see a bright future for Citrix. And hopefully it works out that way. So, yeah. So enjoy the rest of the event. I know there's lots of great sessions today, and enjoy the drink and the good weather and the food and all that kind of stuff. All right, thanks.